we're tossing together a creamy pasta salad with roasted corn, black beans, and a protein boost from Greek yogurt, protein pasta, and cheese. It's bold, fresh, and perfect for meal prep or summer potlucks. Hello, my name is Nicole Bonilla, and if you love healthier recipes to our favorite foods, then you are in the right place. Now you're welcome to jot down these ingredients as we go along, or you can click on the link that's in the video description below. And that will take you to the full recipe with all the details, including ingredients and substitutions, nutrition facts, and frequently asked questions. Now when it comes to the corn in the salad, you have the option of just using it fresh or roasting it first. I prefer to roast it because I think that really brings out more flavor in the corn. And I also like to roast it with the red onions because it softens the onions, which also gives them a little bit more flavor and I find a little bit more easily digestible. So we have 1.5 cups of corn, and you could use fresh or canned. We have 1/4 cup of some chopped red onion, which is about 1/4 of a red onion. And then I have 2 cloves of minced garlic. Now to roast the corn, you could use a cast iron pan. I'm going to use my Hex-Clad pan, which combines the best of cast iron, stainless steel, and nonstick. So I'm going to bring it to a medium-high heat, and then add in about a tablespoon of some light olive oil. Now that's nice and warm, we'll go ahead and add in our corn, our red onion. Now add a few pinches of salt and a couple of dashes of pepper. And then we want to spread it out nice and even. And then we're just going to let that sit and cook for about 3 minutes so that that corn can get some nice color on the bottom. So it's been about 2.5 minutes. So now we'll come in and give it a good stir. You can see it's already starting to brown on the bottom. And I'll go ahead and spread this out again. And then we'll just let that cook for about another minute. Now we'll come in and give it another stir. You can see we're getting some nice color on the bottom of the corn. Now that we have about a minute left in our pan, we want to go ahead and add our garlic. And we'll give that a chance to warm up and start to bloom. And then we can start mixing it all together. And then as soon as you can smell that garlic, you know it's done. Let's go ahead and turn off our heat. Then we'll transfer it to a plate so it can cool. To make our really easy Greek yogurt lime crema, we're going to start with a small mixing bowl. And then we're going to add 1/2 cup of some plain Greek yogurt. And I like to use the full fat for the most creaminess. Next we'll add a tablespoon of avocado oil. You could also use light olive oil. And then using the same measuring spoon that still has a little oil in it, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of some honey, but you could omit this if you like. I just find it's a really nice balance to the tart Greek yogurt as well as the lime juice. And then speaking of limes, I'm just going to take 1 small lime and we'll juice it right in. Oh man, that smell is so good. And then for some simple seasonings, we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of cumin, 1/4 teaspoon of paprika, and 1/4 teaspoon salt. Now I prefer to keep the seasonings on the mild side because that makes it the most easily digestible, but if you'd like to add a little more kick or spice to it, you could easily add some chili powder. And then I'm just going to take my whisk and we'll whisk it all together till it's nice and smooth. Well, that looks perfect. And now is a really good time for a little taste test. That is so good. If you'd like it to be sweeter, you could go ahead and add a little bit more honey or adjust the seasonings however you like. Then we'll go ahead and set this aside. Now for the pasta, you could use any pasta that you like. I really like using this Protein Plus Rotini by Barilla because it has between about 10 to 12 grams of protein per serving. So I just cooked up 8 ounces of pasta according to the directions, and then I drained it. And then I also put it into an ice water bath just to bring down the temperature on the pasta so it doesn't melt our cheese. Now that we have our roasted corn and our Greek yogurt lime crema, we can assemble our salad. So I'm going to start by just dicing up 1 avocado. Of course, you could omit this if you like, but I love the creaminess that this adds to the pasta salad. So I'm just going to cut about 1/2-inch pieces here. And I'll just scoop them out with my spoon. And then I'll just cut them crosswise to make some nice little bite-sized chunks. And I do like to season them with a couple pinches of salt just to bring out their flavor before I put them into the salad. Trust me, you'll thank me once you bite into them. And then we'll add these right on top of the pasta. Next, we're going to add our Greek yogurt crema. And I like adding it right on top of the avocados because of all the lime juice that's in it. And that will help to keep our little avocado bites from turning color. And then we can just mix this all together. And that also helps to get the sauce into all the crevices of the pasta. Now we can add in our roasted corn and red onions and 1/2 cup of black beans. Make sure you rinse those really well if you're using canned. And then I'll just gently fold all of this together. And then you can use whatever cheese you like, but I'm going to add about 1/3 cup of some cotija cheese. And then I'll roughly chop about 1/4 cup of some green cilantro leaves. But of course, you could omit these if you like. And then we'll add those right on top, which will add a beautiful color and texture and flavor. And then I'm just gonna kind of gently stir those down in because I like seeing those right on top. And then for a final touch, I'm just gonna take a little bit of my paprika and just give it a really light little dusting. This is more for the aesthetic, just to get that little bit of that red color. Well, that looks gorgeous and it is ready to enjoy. Make sure I get a bite with all the flavors. That is delicious. All those ingredients come together to create the most vibrant and delicious bite of salad. I love the texture from the pasta and then getting the tang that's coming in from the dressing. And I love the creaminess and slight saltiness of the avocados as well as the cheese. And then I love the flavor coming in from the black beans and then that roasted corn, which is just naturally sweet. That is so good, and I love that it's made with clean, natural ingredients and it's high in protein. Now, once you've had a chance to sample it, you could certainly dial up the spice by adding a little bit of chili powder or anything that floats your boat. Now, if you could use healthier inspiration on a regular basis, I invite you to join my email list. All you have to do is click on the link in the video description below, and that is the best way for us to stay connected. And I want to thank you for hanging out with me today in my kitchen. I have included the link to the full recipe, and it's also in the video description, and that will take you to my website, gentletummy.com. And I invite you to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I cannot wait to have you hang out with me again in my kitchen.